Welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, and I'm Dr. Cheryl. We have a special guest this afternoon, and our show is about the wealth of sharing your gift to help others do the same. And I have here with us Steve Olsher. Steve, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me join you today.
Yeah, and you've been a wonderful teacher. He's my teacher in podcasting. And you have Reinvention Radio and the new Media Summit coming up. And can you give us a little bit of background on where you came from and how you got to where you are?
How much time do we have, right? Long story short.
Well, we're going about almost an hour. Hour. So,
long story short, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 plus years. Longer than that, actually, at this point. It's just one of those guys that was always wired to try to scrape a couple of dimes together and make a quarter, right? So from the time I was old enough to pick up a rake and try to move some leaves around or grab a shovel and shovel sidewalks and driveways, just always really trying to figure out, where to make a buck or two. I guess I'm just naturally wired that way, right?
Yep.
But it's taken me to numerous places over the years, from being a fairly well-known DJ to opening up my own nightclub, to catalogs and .coms and real estate development and podcasting and writing and speaking and hosting live events.
You were involved with CompuServe, weren't you?
Way back in '93,
yes.
Yeah. So we launched on CompuServe's Electronic Mall in 1993. So yeah, we go back a long time online with the stuff I've been doing.
So who was your inspiring model as a child?
I'd have to say that was my grandfather. Just one of those very charismatic, focused entrepreneurs who had done some pretty interesting things over the course of his career. So much so that I really think that he was just such a pioneer in a lot of ways. One of the first, actually, to develop a franchise model where he franchised out liquor stores, which is basically modeled after the liquor store that he had built. First to really introduce co-op buying to an industry, getting a number of liquor retailers together to co-op their buys and get better pricing, because they could obviously buy as a group versus trying to do a one-off and so on. So just really ingenious in a lot of ways, way ahead of his time.
Wow, and so that was a really good role model for you.
Oh yeah, and we actually had a chance to work together for just over 3 years before his passing.
Oh,
so
was that with the liquor industry?
That was when I was in the liquor industry. Yeah, those were the embryonic stages of what became liquor.com.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is that still going?
It is, yeah. I'm involved on a board level. I don't have any active day-to-day with it, but I am involved on a board level with it.
Well, and you wrote, "What is your what?"
I did. That
so
is the
what
world's
is your
smallest
what?
copy of that book.
Well, I've been reading the ebook, but I had to show it on here.
Thank you for that.
So what is your what?
I know, right? That is always the question. So your what is really that which comes as naturally to you as breathing. It reflects how you're naturally wired to excel. It reflects what's in your DNA, right? And so for me, it's an interesting question, but I think what I've really become clear on that my what is really helping people discover, share, and monetize theirs. And, depending on where you are on the path, I'm able to really meet you where you are. If you need to discover it, that's what the book is for. If you want to share and monetize it, then we can get deeper into the business side of the equation, and let's get you out there making money.
Well, that's why I've engaged with your model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I got so far as having MSNBC look at my show, and they were considering it, but everything's streaming, and they weren't taking on new shows. So, it's like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah.
And then my dear friend, who is 91, she says, look at this guy, you. So, because I've looked, and I've talked to I've talked to
my avatar. My avatar should be 90 something women who have friends that are looking to do things. That's good. I like that, actually.
Yeah, no, and she's one of my surrogate mothers. But anyway, so so far I'm really learning a lot from you, and just staying open so I can model some of it and be unique in some of it too. I have to be unique.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So, so where are you going with all this?
In terms of the teachings around the book, or in terms of teaching around podcasting?
Well,
what specifically?
Where's your passion? Where's your purpose and your passion in that?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So my core purpose, if you will, the core passion that I have, is really around entrepreneurship and helping others build sustainable, scalable businesses, and always having some things going for myself as well, right? So where it's going is just continuing down the path of working with a select number of entrepreneurs to really help them build their businesses, as well as I've got some irons in the fire on some fairly interesting endeavors that should, I believe, change the landscape of the respective industries that we're going to be going into.
Well, it's been interesting because I've probably spoken to maybe 5 other people who said they knew how to monetize and they didn't. So that's why I came to you, because you've got a track record, and however, I'm still working on. I mean, I have the focus, but I have like 2 focuses in one. So I'll talk to you about that another time, because I don't want to take up this space to do that. That isn't really fair, because this is your show.
No worries. Yeah. But and I'll say this, that most people don't look at business from a holistic standpoint, if you will, in terms of part of why I believe that they may have struggled to help you monetize is because content in and of itself is very hard to monetize. I mean, you can't look at content as a business, but I do believe that there is the business of content, and as I said, more of a holistic approach to really being able to monetize the content that's created. So I think that's part of what some folks really just struggle with and don't quite understand, is that content in and of itself doesn't breed much other than vanity metrics.
So what do you mean business of content?
I mean, and you'll learn this at the New Media Summit, but in terms of looking at, for instance, podcasting is really just a branch on a tree. It's not the tree itself.
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying you got to be doing more things, right? You have to, if you really want to monetize your expertise and you truly want to make a meaningful career out of what it is that fires you up, if you will, puts fire in your soul, you have to be doing more than just simply creating content. Just content in and of itself, is not the answer. It just isn't. There's so much more to it, and that's where I think a lot of people go off path. Is they simply look at content from the standpoint of, if you build it, they will come, and I think we all know by now that that's just not the case.
Right. So you have two children?
I do. 2 boys,
2
15 and 12.
Oh, wow. So are they interested in doing what you're doing,
They're interested in money. they, they like money. So, from that standpoint, yeah, they're very interested. In terms of doing what it is that I do, I don't know yet. I mean, we'll see what they kind of gravitate towards. And at this point, I'm just giving them kind of an open book approach where they can try a lot of different things and really see what suits them in terms of potentially a chosen path.
Yeah. So getting to your Reinvention Radio, tell us. I mean, I always like to use this model as for the viewers as an example in also teaching. But what was one of your most memorable interviews on Reinvention Radio?
So, boy, we've had. God, I think I've done over 1,000 interviews on Reinvention Radio so far. Dates back to 2009 when I did my first interview with it. So we've had lots of really interesting people join us on the show over the years.
Do you have sponsors then for that show?
Nope. No, I don't. I don't believe in advertising as a component of the podcasting revenue model.
Oh, okay.
Off and on, we've had sponsors drop in, drop out.
Yeah.
But the real money in podcasting isn't bringing in advertisers. I mean, again, it goes back to really the business of content. In this case, the business of podcasting, which is again a more holistic approach. But in terms of some of the more memorable guests that we've had on, I love the story of the Lucci quadruplets, who we had join us on Reinvention Radio about almost 4 years ago now, and these just amazing young girls who they're all older now. But quadruplets born into let's just say they were born in Beverly Hills. The family had the typical Beverly Hills lifestyle of the house and the cars and the money and the whole nine. But unfortunately, the father of that household was very abusive, and he. Some say he was physically abusive. Some say he was sexually abusive. Most everyone says that he was emotionally abusive. And unfortunately, mom was pretty checked out and didn't do what most mothers do to protect their children. And there were 3 boys and 4 girls, so 7 children altogether in this household.
Oof.
And there were times where the father just did not treat the girls well. I mean, he would go out and buy toys, as an example, for the boys, and he wouldn't buy toys for the girls, or he'd take the boys out to eat, and he wouldn't take the girls out to eat, right? I mean, just lots of stories, and then of course the abusive nature that seemed to be an overriding pattern in that house. It was just a really bad place to be. One day, Dad decided he was tired of it all. And he basically took the 3 boys and left mom, who was kind of mentally checked out, to fend for herself. And she was there alone raising these 4 girls. And wasn't long before mom decided that she was just overwhelmed and couldn't really do much to help her kids. And she went out to get groceries and never came back.
Oh, my God.
Leaving those 4 girls home alone, and literally within a matter of months, they had gone from just having this intact family, albeit dysfunctional, living in Beverly Hills, to being thrust into the foster care system. And
did they
years,
get separated?
Say it again.
Did they get separated, or were they able? Yeah.
And for years, they bounced from house to house to house, and being separated at pretty much every juncture. And eventually they found one amazing couple who brought all 4 girls in and raised them as if they were their own. And they just turned out to be the most amazing girls. And instead of being bitter and angry and whatnot about everything. They all went on to graduate high school. They all went on to college, and now they're really focused on bringing to light a lot of the atrocities that take place in the foster care system.
Yeah.
And it was just a really interesting story to be able to share, and certainly one of my favorite episodes that we've done.
What an example. And they can help people, help other children and kids and etc.
Yeah, it's just an amazing story, really, because the girls could have turned out to be they could have turned out to be anything, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they turned out to just be these amazing young women who are really focused on doing good, as opposed to just kind of looking to the past and hanging their hat on just everything that went wrong in their lives during during that period of time. It's an amazing story of perseverance.
And it sounds like they supported one another too. They were there.
Sure.
So
yeah, I think they really just had each other. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So are you getting all psyched up for next month for the summit?
Yeah. So we're doing the New Media Summit, and it's a unique event. We bring in 40 top podcasters, and we give attendees the opportunity to meet them and really get to know them on a more personal level over the course of a few days. And the highlight of the event is that all of the attendees get to take the stage and get to pitch the podcasters on who they are and what they do. And they literally get booked on the spot. So everybody who comes to the summit leaves with bookings in hand. And it's definitely become one of my favorite events, no doubt. And
you do it twice a year?
We do it once in the spring and once in the fall. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, although this one's a little more winterish. We're pushing it back for 2020 more to the end of March.
Oh, so that's why you go to Florida where it's warmer.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll do 2020 in the spring somewhere else. Right now we've got February in Florida, February 2019 in Florida, and then we're doing September 2019 in San Diego.
Yeah, and that'll be nice because that's closer for me too.
Oh yeah.
And that's right outside your front door.
Basically, yeah, right here in San Diego, not terribly far.
Yeah. Oh my! So what else is on your plate? What drives you?
Yeah, I'm fortunate that I've worked consistently and fairly hard over the course of my career, and I have what it is that I need, and it's a fine line as an entrepreneur between having exactly what it is that you want versus having what it is that you need. And I'm just at the stage of my life and the stage of my career where I have what I need and I have what I want. So, I don't have the same drive and the same fire, if you will, that I had when I was in my 20s and 30s and just trying to figure out exactly, what it is that I want to do and how I want to leave my mark on the world. And that's okay. It just allows me to be much more selective about what I say yes to, and the things that I do say yes to, like the New Media Summit and continuing to do the podcasting. And of course, as an author, as a writer, I've always got books in the back of my mind. So I think I'll put pen to paper or finger to keyboard here and come out with another book at some point soon.
What do you think your next book is going to be about?
That remains to be seen. There's a couple of different opportunities there. One could certainly be about podcasting, but I'm also looking at doing things potentially just around entrepreneurship and really being able to take advantage of a lot of the new ways to be an entrepreneur. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what shakes out of all this. But yeah, that's something I'm going to probably pursue here later this year.
And well, I know it takes discipline, and because I have 2 books that I've written, and you kind of have to isolate yourself a little bit, and it takes discipline.
Oh yeah, yeah. You gotta stop binge watching the shows for a minute and actually start writing.
Which shows?
Yeah, name it.
Oh,
my wife and
really?
So we're into the shows, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So so are these podcasters that are going to be at the summit? Are they like ones that have been there, consecutively? Are there a mix or?
Yeah, no, we always have new people come to the summit. So we always have a mix of, well, obviously at the first one they were all new.
Yeah.
But ever since the first one, we brought back some have been there every time, and most have only been there once. And then we'll have a group that have never been to the summit as well. So we've got a really nice mix of attendees as go around, and representing lots of different types of shows, from personal growth and self-help to spiritual type shows and business type shows and health and wellness shows and spirituality. You name it.
When did you start the first one?
So the first New Media Summit that we did in September of 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll have done 4 of them by the time we hit February, and roughly a year and a half.
So do you think it's a pivot for podcasters then? I mean, it's a wonderful way to network.
Yeah. The podcasters, obviously, I mean, they're there because they get a lot out of it too, right? I mean, they get positioned as icons of influence, which puts them in a unique light, right, as far as the industry is concerned. They find really great guests to appear on their shows. And the truth is they learn. Most of the podcasters that I know are doing okay with their shows, but few really understand podcasting as a business in terms of just the difference between that and the business of podcasting. And so that's a lot of what we're there to teach. And then, of course, we have a mastermind that we do just for the podcasters, the icons of influence, as we call them. And they'll have an opportunity there to learn quite a bit over the course of that day as well.
Right. So tell us about how you got Reinvention Radio going and how you get your guests and et cetera.
Yeah, so Reinvention Radio was really born out of my desire to carve out a niche in terms of having just some recognizable focus. And given that I've reinvented my life at so many junctures along the path there, it just seemed like a natural positioning for me to take on in terms of positioning myself as a reinvention expert. And Reinvention Radio was a nice complement to that, and being able to share the stories of people who have reinvented their lives and the difference that they have made as a result is really nothing short of just amazing to me. And so being able to sit down with a lot of those folks and have them share exactly what they did in their lives to go from point A to point B,
right.
And really just helping folks to understand that they're not alone.
How do you get your guests?
Alone.
Yeah, how do you get your guests?
At the beginning, it was a little bit more challenging, right? Because once you're first starting out, you've got to try to make a name for yourself, and you've got to and back in 2009, you really had to explain to people why they needed to take their time to do it, because it just wasn't as mainstream as it is now. And accessing shows back in 2009, you had to go through a number of steps to access a podcast, right? So that was challenging at first. It was a lot of cold calling, a lot of cold emailing, a lot of LinkedIn, and just reaching out for people that I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as the show began to pick up steam, we began getting a lot of inbound inquiries for being on the show. Yeah. And that's really where the guests come from now, and the New Media Summit. The majority of the guests that we bring on either come from the New Media Summit or from inbound applications.
Well, is there anything that you want to share? Like as the viewers that I have, that we have here, some insight, because I know you've been through in your life. I'm sure you've been through a lot of challenges. And I know you told your story about selling speakers. I think out of a van, it's, hey, we all have our stories, and, where you are today.
Yeah, and I think realistically, at the end of the day, everything, and Dr. Wayne Dyer said this so well. He said, everything that we experience, no matter how painful, eventually leads us to a place of higher value. And it's our job to really share that. And I think that part of the reason why we've been given the trials and the tribulations and so on that we've been given is to really help others avoid that same type of brain damage if we're just willing to share our experiences. And so I do believe that the experiences that we've had are meant to be shared and meant to be taught, and just really give others the opportunity to learn from what it is that we've had to endure. And when we don't share of ourselves what it is that we've had to endure in our own trials and tribulations and so on, we're really not just doing a huge disservice to, of course, ourselves to be able to, I guess there's something to be said for just the act of sharing for us, right? It's a kind of a personal cleanse, if you will, to be able to put that forth. But then, of course, there's so many people who are literally just waiting for you to show up in their lives, and they need to hear what it is that you have to say. And when you don't say that, or you are embarrassed by it or hold it within, you just never know the indirect pain and suffering that you're causing.
Interesting. So are you still doing Beyond 8 Figures podcast?
Yeah. So Beyond 8 Figures is our newest show. And on Beyond 8 Figures, we exclusively sit down with entrepreneurs who have either exited for more than $10 million or currently run businesses that gross more than $10 million annually. And we, let's just say we kind of grill them until they share their tactics and strategies and shortcuts for success.
Is that
with the understanding of really helping others to start or scale or exit from their business.
Is that like all different kinds of entrepreneurs, or are there specific podcasters?
We've had lots of different entrepreneurs on. I don't think we've had any other podcasters on that show yet. Yeah. But yeah, people like Brian Smith, who's the founder of UGG Boots. It's a $1 billion plus brand, and Reed Tracy, the president and CEO of Hay House. It's a $100 million plus brand, and Naveen Jain, the billionaire, and many, many, many others, all of whom meet the criteria as I've described it.
Yeah. So, my goodness. Well, I know you had said earlier when I first started learning from you that most podcasts are about 62 minutes.
Most.
Yeah.
But when you have, people like Joe Rogan who are doing 3-hour-long interviews, that's going to skew the numbers a little bit. But yeah, I mean, on average, that's about what they work out to be.
Yeah, 3 hours
But
is a long time.
some are a lot less, some are a lot more. I mean, I always say that the show should be as long as it needs to be.
Yeah,
So long as you're
I used to
providing
do
relevant content, then you keep going.
Yeah, I used to do like half-hour shows, but then I found that to really get beyond and to really get to the depth of things, it takes an hour. I mean, at least,
It can.
So.
Yep, depends on the guest.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So, well, I'm anxious to learn more, and I've learned a lot, and it's a good reminder. These sessions that we've had, and I'm anxious to get my podcast launched, because I have all this. I have all these shows, and I don't know what to do with them. I even went and got a sizzle reel. I have a sizzle reel, and it's like, okay, now what? If you don't know somebody in the industry directly, how else do you do it? Get it out there.
Yeah, and reality is some of the older content that you may have, you just throw by the wayside, and you don't bring it into the new world, right?
Yeah,
that's part of what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, they're certainly not all going to be worthy of sharing, for today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I have had a lot of wonderful guests, and sharing their historical guests too, and I love it, that part. So
and that is one of the nice things about having your own platform, is you can bring people on that you may not normally have access to. For sure, that's definitely a fringe benefit, if you will, of podcasting, or just any sort of media.
Yeah, and I've been very blessed with getting a lot of good referrals. People, oh yeah, you got to get this person on, and I haven't been shy of getting guests, and I love it. But now things are going to change a little bit. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, for sure. You just gotta keep evolving, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. So your wife's name is Lena?
Yeah. That is true.
Does she get involved when you do the summits?
No, she's in a whole different world altogether. She's a licensed funeral director and embalmer. So she's in a completely different world as far as that goes. I mean, she'll come to the events, and she'll, of course, just want to hang out and be supportive. But for the most part, no, she does her thing, and I do mine.
Yeah. An embalmer. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, she must be strong. She must be a strong woman.
It's just like what we were talking about before, and with the book, it's just she's wired in that way. It's just a part of who she is.
Yeah.
And she could spend a lifetime in denial about it, but it's what puts fire in her soul, and it's what she's naturally wired to do, right?
Well, and as long as you two work it out with your relationship, who cares?
Yeah. Well, it gives us both something to do that we enjoy doing.
Yeah. Well, maybe your sons might get involved at some point.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. Again, what I do is experience based, right? So it's super hard to just move them into this arena and say, hey, why don't you just come on in and start teaching some of this stuff. But that's difficult for them to do. But what they can do is they can share their respective expertise, right? I mean, even though they're kids, they've got things that they've done in their lives that they can share, and so it's just a matter of really honing in on what it is that they might want to actually focus on. But we'll see. Some of that may reveal itself, and other times they may just have to go out into the world and try to figure that out.
Right, right. So or do you have like a dream beyond this of creating, that you have up here that's not, that's out here?
Yeah, I mean, the main focus for me right now is just finding opportunities that I most enjoy pursuing. Right? I mean, it's an interesting period of time in my life where I have the ability to still work and want to still work, but not work in typical fashion, right? So for me, I try to work just a few days a week: Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and really hone in on just one endeavor at a time, right? So for right now, it's the teaching around podcasting and everything that I'm doing in that space. Moving forward, we'll see. I mean, I had done real estate development in the past. I'll probably end up doing something in the world of real estate development again, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. I love the art of the deal, and having a background in tech and real estate and so on. I think there's an opportunity for me to combine the two.
Well, you seem to be a natural at the media world.
Yeah, well, it's I don't think you can be an entrepreneur without having media as your friend, and whether that's having your own show or being a guest on other people's shows, whatever it might be. I think you have to embrace the media, and you have to be willing to share yourself through traditional and non-traditional channels, and I think it's just the way of the world.
And it certainly has evolved and changed, even over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it'll continue to evolve. I mean, there's no doubt at all that it will continue to evolve, and we'll see where things go. But pull media, which is people consuming the content that they want when they want it and on their preferred device, is certainly let's just say that is going to be the continuing trend for the foreseeable future. Right. I don't see that changing.
Oh no, actually, you might laugh, but I was driving for Uber for a while, and I met a tremendous amount of people. And I mostly because it was in San Francisco, and there's so many millennials in San Francisco, and out of most of the people, they'd ask for a podcast, and I said, "Well, I don't really have one yet. I've made 2 podcasts out of 2 of my shows, but I don't really have it launched, and I didn't know how to really do it. So that's why, of course, I met you. But they keep asking for podcasts. In fact, my niece's husband said, when are you going to get your podcast? Because I'll listen, because he drives, an hour or so to work, and, wants to utilize that time. And that's what a lot of the techies do in San Francisco, because they take the train down to Silicon Valley, and that's what they, so it's here to stay.
Yeah, good. Good. Well, this has been fun.
So, any other words of wisdom that you can share with us?
No, I mean, I think we've covered most of those bases there, and reality is you're probably much closer to monetization than you ever thought possible, from the standpoint of you don't need to have this pedigree or this degree of success in order to help people who are just a couple of steps behind you, right? So if you just think about it from the standpoint of one of my favorite expressions, which is to a second grader, a fifth grader is a god, right? So just keep that in mind and be willing to share with strategic abandon, and good things will happen.
All righty. Well,
appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on. And
you're welcome.
Until I guess tomorrow. Something's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Our Blastermind. That's
right.
The mastermind.
It's an hour. Yeah. The first one.
For our mastermind, which is called Blastermind.
Yeah. So the first one. So tell us about the Blastermind before you go.
So Blastermind is our unbelievably affordable, high-touch mastermind, which is really dedicated towards helping extraordinary people become exceptional entrepreneurs. And so every month I'd lead the group on a training, and of course the subjects vary throughout the year, but they're all business-related subjects. Give people an opportunity to sit on the hot seat and, of course, answer their questions, get feedback from the community, hold them accountable as best that I can and best the community can for bringing their goals and objectives to fruition. But ultimately, it is an opportunity to get very high-level guidance at an unbelievably affordable price of $47 a month. And so people ask, how can I do that for $47 a month? Well, the answer is it's built on scale, right? So we've got a lot of members across the globe that are in Blastermind, and we do it as a group coaching environment with a private Facebook group, and of course a number of benefits as well, including introductions to people in my network and discounted tickets for the New Media Summit and much more.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Steve, for sharing your what.
Yep, my pleasure.
And I thank my wonderful crew. Ginger, she's been a little sick, but she's here. And Eric and Brad, thank you. You didn't really get to meet them, but because I usually have my crew meet my guests. But anyway.
Yep, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
Blessings until tomorrow.
Sounds good. Take care.
Okay, you too. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Attention coaches, authors, speakers, holistic practitioners, small business owners, and solopreneurs. If you're tired of being the world's best kept secret and want to gain massive visibility fast, do whatever it takes to attend the next New Media Summit. The New Media Summit is the only event where you get to cut to the front of the line and connect with and learn from 40 of the world's leading podcasters who will be there for one specific reason: to meet you.
How many of you guys have developed a nice relationship with an icon while you've been here?
Can you imagine how many more people would enroll in your products, programs, and services, buy your books, hire you to speak, or reach out to partner with you if you were featured on major podcasts such as Conscious Millionaire, Boss Mom, Read to Lead, The Solopreneur Hour, Reinvention Radio, and many others? The answer is a lot. And these shows, plus many others, have all come to the New Media Summit to find guests to feature on their high visibility shows. When you attend, you'll not only learn how to leverage and monetize the power of new media via keynote sessions, panel discussions, and small group coaching, we'll guide you to position yourself as the go-to expert in your niche. Develop the professional presence you must have to hear, yes, we'd love to feature you.
I promise you, no matter how niche you get, there will be an audience for you.
And have ample time to pitch 40 of the world's top podcasters and get booked on the spot. The New Media Summit will absolutely help you secure the visibility you rightfully deserve.
I'll tell anybody, you ought to come to this event.
Incredible guests, incredible people, incredible ideas.
And this time, not only did I get booked on more podcasts, but I found dozens of wonderful guests that I can have on my own show.
It's been better than I could have imagined. I've already been booked on several podcasts, and I haven't even given my pitch yet.
I got like
25, 30 bookings.
I'm leaving here after 2.5 days with over 20 bookings.
The New Media Summit is unlike any event you've ever attended, and we absolutely guarantee that when you join us, you will get booked. Attendance is limited to just 150 attendees, and we always sell out. Your registration includes over $7,000 in bonuses, including 4 pre-event training sessions to get you ready to pitch, your very own professionally designed Media One sheet, a lifetime listing on perfect podcast guests, VIP status at the event including gourmet lunch every day, and more. Secure your seat now by registering at www.newmediasummit.net. That's www.newmediasummit.net.